The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom has taken over the world. It's great, but you don't need me to tell you that. Everyone on Metacritic already has. So I'm not gonna review this game per se. It'll be a waste of time for you, the viewer, and for me to create. It's great, but is it perfect? Usually I don't side with Twitter whiny crybabies, but they kind of have a point. It's not a technical marvel compared to games that have things like ray tracing or 4K graphics. Well, here's the difference. This game is fun and creative. Those games aren't. Hello world and all who inhabit it, it is I, the Great Sayran, and okay, those other games are fun too. I can't discount the fun I had with Jedi Survivor on PS5. Check out my review on that, by the way. It's just that this game is so special and does what other games that spend years trying to be technical masterpieces fail to do. It's not third person, over the shoulder cinematics every 20 minutes, you know the ones. Those games can be fun too, and I play them as well. Tears of the Kingdom though, I could literally spend hours talking about how fun this game is. In fact, I did on stream right here on this channel. It's an improvement over Breath of the Wild in every way and actually makes it feel incomplete by comparison. I never thought I'd say that. Tears of the Kingdom also gives me big Ocarina of Time vibes, which is one of my favorite Zelda games. Without spoiling it, the story is fantastic, and I've been actually beelining some of the major story elements so that I don't get spoiled on Twitter. To call Tears of the Kingdom anything less than amazing just wouldn't be doing it the justice it deserves, but calling it perfect, well, that's a whole different thing. I think perfection can never be reached, but also when I see someone give a game a 10 out of 10, I don't think that's them calling the game perfect. I think that's them rating the experience contextually and in comparison to the other great, average, and poor games out there. I don't use numbers when reviewing games because it gets confusing and everyone likes to argue their rating, and I don't have time for that. Instead, I use recommend, don't recommend, and wait for a sale based on the value the game is offering compared to what they're asking from us, the consumers. With that being said, Tears of the Kingdom is a 10 out of 10 must-play, fully recommend game, and if you don't agree, stick around and I'll explain why. Let's compare Tears of the Kingdom to its older brother, Breath of the Wild. Visually and performance-wise, it's much better. This game was actually built using the same engine as Breath of the Wild, but with the Switch in mind instead of the Wii U. Now, those two consoles are different and the Switch is more powerful, but it's not night and day, so there are some similarities. As an avid Nintendo Switcher, I can see differences in Tears that makes me appreciate the upgraded visuals, but also this art style is timeless and Breath of the Wild still looks amazing today. Some might not like the cartoonish art style, but if everything was photorealistic, would we be gaming or would we be dreaming? Does it have the best art style ever created in gaming history? No, but it doesn't need to deserve that 10 out of 10, so I'm shooting that reasoning for it not being perfect down. I'd rather them trade visual fidelity for things like world exploration, which we'll talk about later, and quality of life changes. It may be weird to say, but the menu system in this game is what made me realize how much better it is over Breath of the Wild. Controls for that game could feel clunky. I've beaten it twice and was frustrated on my most recent third playthrough because I had forgotten the controls. Tears of the Kingdom fixes that. Abilities now work off a scroll wheel when you hold L, and navigating through main menus for weapons, food, and zonai devices is an easy LR toggle. It just makes sense this way. They also gave us a way to track food with the recipe book. An annoying part of Breath of the Wild was needing to cook but not remembering recipes. Pausing to go look up recipes online takes you out of the immersion, and while experimenting with food can be a cool way to invoke player choice, you can end up wasting precious resources if you misremember. Adding a cookbook as a reminder eliminates that, and if you don't want to use it, it's tucked away so you don't have to. This game is so familiar yet new, which is actually hard to do in sequels. You want to change things, but you also want to keep what created the previous success, especially with a game as huge as Breath of the Wild. The combat is very familiar and I was able to hop in that quickly, but the fuse mechanic creates a whole new feel. Different weapon combinations get super creative, and if you can find a base item with extra durability, you can fuse it with something powerful and have a great weapon in your back pocket for a while. I hated collecting random items in Breath of the Wild. It just didn't feel like there was a point if it wasn't food, but now everything has a purpose even more so. I'm in the minority, but I love this series' weapon degradation, and I'm glad they creatively found a way to address it instead of just getting rid of it. I knew this game was goated when I found a shield that was fused to a flamethrower. Is that a flame emitting shield? Holy hell. Oh, I love this game so much. This game has creativity written all over it. Creativity to me counts for a lot when deciding if a game is good or not. If it's the same thing repackaged, I can't really recommend you spend your top dollar day one for it. Luckily, Tears of the Kingdom doesn't have this problem. Creativity in the shareable digital age is immensely important. While I may have a few shared moments from some other games I consider a 10 out of 10 and have recommended, I don't think I've shared as much as I have with Tears of the Kingdom. I'm a variety type of guy with the main focus on reviews, especially on the Nintendo Switch. I play a lot of games and make content on a lot of games. I'm pretty sure I've made more videos on Tears than I have any other game at this point. It's just super easy to share. We're all having a different experience, so me sharing what I'm doing usually doesn't impact what you're doing in your game. And of course, the community is gonna find ways to be creative. I guess people are annoyed with all the hype and coverage that this game is getting, and instead of joining in, they're questioning the validity of this game's greatness. I saw someone give this game an 8.5 out of 10, but they don't believe any game is a 10 out of 10, so to me, their scale is actually 1 through 9. If a number can't be reached on the scale, then it shouldn't be on the scale. But I guess an 8.5 out of 9 is pretty good too. Besides creating different structures, you still have the main ways you interact with the game. Go anywhere in any order to do anything. That includes the shrines. They can be completed however you like using your abilities. Obviously, there's ways that the creators and designers intended, but screw that. This is your adventure. I missed the initial Breath of the Wild hype and played it in 2020, but even then I would see different ways to play and create scenarios. It's been over 6 years and the Breath of the Wild content creators haven't let up. I'm excited to see what they do in Tears of the Kingdom over the next decade. These Zonai devices you can create and experiment with are amazing too. I haven't found the big gumball machine that gives you the steering wheel yet, but as soon as I do, I know that my creations will be even more wild and wacky because I can actually control them how I want. I do wish you can pick up random Zonai items in the wild that you find, but I also understand why you can't. The gameplay loop aspect of getting Zonai charges will be made slightly pointless. Yes, you can still get them for other things like powering your machinations, but I would rather gameplay elements have multiple roles to fill. Finding more of these throughout the world pushes players to explore, though we don't really need a reason to. The best part about these games are the world, and for everyone saying it's the same map, shut up you big dumb idiot and play the game. It is not the same map. This has a similar Hyrule, a completely new sky, and a whole new creepy depth area that is massive, eerie, challenging, and full of explorative opportunities. This is one area of the game I literally am fascinated and obsessed with. I spent hours down here navigating the darkness, fighting bosses, and uncovering / enlightening this part of the map. See, when you go to a Skyview tower, you uncover parts of the map that is Hyrule and the Sky Islands, but not the depths. You have to actively go here and discover this pitch black world separately from the other two. I didn't even see reviews or preview coverage mention this, and it's one of the best parts. It's as big as Hyrule, but it's not mostly air like how the sky area is. Every inch can be explored, not just seen. I've explored more of the depths than I have the sky area, and the game starts there. The exploration is giving me open world syndrome, but like the good kind. There's actual value in going off in a direction and seeing what you can find, who you can fight, and what you can uncover, whether that's in a side quest or a new piece of lore the game may give you. The emphasis on this world is what makes this game such a great experience. When I was a kid and I saw an initial version of Hyrule in Ocarina of Time, I was amazed at what games could be, and as an adult, I have that same sense of wonder with Tears of the Kingdom. If you don't think world exploration, creative gameplay mechanics, and genuine quality of life improvements over the first game is enough to say this game is as perfect as a game can be, then maybe it's you. It's possible to not like a game but still see the brilliance in it and understand why it's deemed as amazing as it is. I do it all the time. I don't think the GTA series is interesting at all, but I'll never call it bad or say it doesn't deserve its high praises. If you're in the camp of it's good but it's overhyped, let me meet you halfway. I think there are some things that could be improved. Firstly, why can't I completely remap my buttons for this game? Yes, I can do it on a system level or use my third-party controller's back buttons, but I would rather the game have that as an accessibility option. I brute forced my way through it, but having my jump and sprint buttons switched isn't enough, and I would love for them to be right next to each other. Secondly, the performance in this game can get dicey. For an open world with no load screens, besides when you enter shrines, running on near decade-old hardware, it does pretty well. Of course, it can be improved, and I would love to see a 60 FPS version of this game running on Nintendo hardware one day. Honestly, that's it. I understand other game limitations like how many weapons and shields you can hold or how you need 4 light blessings to get 1 stamina vessel. I guess a perfect game would make you OP from the start, but I don't know. That's what mods are for. It's hard to say what perfect is, but we're not putting perfect on the scale. 10 out of 10 doesn't mean perfect, and even if someone calls something perfect, they don't mean perfect by definition. So is Tears of the Kingdom a perfect game? Yes. And no, it's as perfect as a game can be contextually. It's running on old hardware, but delivers a breathtaking experience. Of course, I recommend it, so much so that I literally gave away a copy at launch. Please, Twitter whiny boo boo babies. This game deserves its score, just like Final Fantasy 16, Spider-Man 2, and Starfield will deserve theirs. If you disagree, make your own video review, or just leave it in the comments and I'll get back to you. Be sure to check out some of my other videos like these on the screen right now, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.